When I stumbled across the Seiko SBTR range of affordable chronograph watches a few months ago, honestly, I thought I'd found the cheapest and best value for money Seiko chronograph watches that ever existed. But since then, I found these SBTQs. These things are even cheaper. They make Seiko 5 prices look premium, but are they any good? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. I've bought one. I'm going to head over to the Lightbox, unbox it, and share with you my first impressions. But before I head over there, I want to tell you about an even better value for money Grand Seiko because, well, it's free. It's this one. A Grand Seiko SBGX263 costs £2,000 in the UK. I've been trying to give this watch away now for a couple of months. The first two lucky recipients didn't watch the results videos, so they've missed out, but that means you guys are in with another chance of receiving this watch if you are a subscriber of I Like Watches, and if you've added a comment in the comments section to the full review, I'll put a link in the video description. Make sure you come back on the 22nd of March. I'll be uploading my third and hopefully final results video. If your name is picked, email me oldmantimegary@gmail.com. I'll get your address and then I'll send you this watch. Right. Let's head over to the Lightbox and take a look at this SBTQ071. So cheap. Now, while I'm unboxing this watch, I'm going to put some prices on the screen. I'm using Sakura Watches prices just to show you how it compares to the SBTR in terms of price, but it's currently out of stock. I think every single model is out of stock with SakuraWatches.com at the moment. I actually bought this from Zen Market, which is like a third-party agent. They buy stuff in Japan and then ship it all around the world. I think I paid a little bit more than I would have done had I bought it from SakuraWatches.com, but like I said, it was not available at SakuraWatches.com, but around $91 US for this watch compared to the almost $150 for the SBTR watches. First impressions, well, the bracelet definitely feels a little bit cheaper, although I quite like the top surface of the bracelet actually. That looks to be fairly nicely finished, but there's some substantial spaces between those links, isn't there? A lot of jangle as well. The SBTR had pressed, or had a pressed clasp, so I suspect it's not going to feel too dissimilar to that one, although, yeah, that safety latch does feel pretty cheap. I mean, obviously, they're going to have cut some corners to get this watch down to the prices that you would be expected to pay, but there are some people out there who are really on a tight budget, and yeah, the AliExpress sale is about to start on Monday, and this weekend you will be inundated with AliExpress sale videos, but not everybody wants to shop on AliExpress. Some people want super cheap and affordable watches from brands like Seiko. So yeah, I thought I'd show you something a little bit different in this video, give you a break from all the AliExpress content. I think it looks pretty good actually. I like the blue sunburst dial. I'm not wild about the silver bezel. I do prefer a black bezel with these chronographs, but yeah, actually it looks all right, doesn't it? Right, let me resize it, get this tag off. Let me just quickly show you the tag. There it is, SBTQ071, 16,500 Japanese yen. Right, I must confess, resizing this watch wasn't the easiest. It's got these fairly cheap folded links, and yeah, resizing them isn't the easiest, but I got there in the end. Plenty of micro adjustments though, look at that. I didn't need to worry too much about how many links I needed to remove because, well, the clasp has so much adjustment in it. Anyway, I managed to get there in the end. Yeah, no need to put any power in it because it is a quartz chronograph and it looks like it's actually running. Let me stop and reset that. There you go. It's not a mecha quartz watch, unfortunately. It is a standard quartz, but actually that's not unexpected at this price, I don't think. Obviously, it would have been nice if it had housed a mecha quartz movement, but it doesn't, and the hand alignment actually looks pretty good. The hands on the main dial don't look quite big enough, do they? Look at that hour hand, it looks tiny. I mean, I think the minute hand could do with being a little bit longer. But yeah, there are going to be some compromises given the price of this thing. And really, you know, you're only going to be interested in this watch if you are on a particularly tight budget. But I must say, it is fantastic to see Seiko still offering, you know, fantastic value for money watches like this. They have garnished a reputation recently for hiking their prices. And okay, this watch isn't necessarily going to be available in your local market or jewelers, but it is available for us all to buy. We are just going to have to buy it from places like Sakura Watches or Zen Market or Japan Online Store, maybe. I'll put some links in the video description. Anyway, let me zoom in and show you the chronograph function working properly this time. So start, the click is okay. Wow, the second hand alignment seems fairly reasonable. A little bit of slack in the second hand on the main dial. It's starting to sag a little bit and hit between the markers, but it's not too bad. Stop and reset. Yeah, I mean, that seems to work okay. You've got running seconds at the 9 o'clock, fractions of a second for your chronograph at the 12, and minutes down at the 6. And yeah, crown works as normal. First position adjusts the date, and then second position adjusts the hands. I'm really not a fan of these sort of polished or silvery looking bezels, unfortunately, but yeah, actually, I think it looks all right, doesn't it? And I really am quite happy with the finish of the outside of the bracelet. Obviously, at the sides, it looks a bit cheap. The overall feel of the bracelet and the clasp is, well, quite cheap feeling, very thin metal. It doesn't feel sharp or dangerous, but it just doesn't feel like they've put a lot of material in the clasp or the bracelet. But again, I think to be expected. Let's have a quick look at the caseback. Right, there it is. This watch was made in December 2022. 100 meters of water resistance. Wow, that's good. Of course, you won't be able to press the pushers under the water, but still. 100 meters of water resistance is more than I was expecting. Cased in Thailand, Japanese movement. Yeah, hollow end links, hollow links, obviously, but a stainless steel case. And it seems to be fairly nicely finished, actually. Yeah, some brushing on top and a fully polished bezel. It looks, yeah, I keep saying it, but I think it looks all right. Right, here it is then on my roughly average sized wrist. Now, when it's on your wrist, you struggle to tell how the bracelet and the clasp have been made. They appear to be, and they feel when it's in your hand, quite cheaply made, but the truth is when it's on your wrist, I think you'd struggle to tell. Yes, there's not a lot of weight in this watch, and from the side, you know, the bracelet is going to look a little bit cheap, as is that clasp to some degree, but in terms of comfort and feel, it just feels like any other watch, and it is a little bit smaller than the other Seiko chronographs that I've reviewed recently. So yeah, if you're interested in a smaller than average Seiko chronograph that's very, very affordable. I mean, this thing is incredibly cheap, even when you factor in import taxes. Yeah, it's still unbelievably cheap. I think it could well be a viable option. I'm not a massive fan of the polished tachymeter, but that doesn't dissuade everybody from considering watches like this. I do like the sunburst dial. I don't mind the dial configuration. All of these sub-dials are going to prove to be useful if you are looking for a chronograph watch. At least there's no 24-hour sub-dial. So, yeah, I think this is a potential contender. However, if you are in a position to spend a little bit extra and pick up an SBTR, I just think they're better watches. The construction used to make those watches is better movement. I think they are better looking watches. But still, I think this is something to consider if the SBTRs are not for you. Now, there is some lume on this watch, so before I wrap it up, let's do a quick lume degradation test. I've given the lume a quick burst with the UV torch. Yeah, I'm just going to let it run down now for 5 minutes to see how much it degrades, and that should give us some indication as to whether or not the lume is half decent. Well, when my camera struggles to focus, I know the lume is not great, but actually it's not the worst lume I've ever seen. I can still see it quite clearly in my light box, and you can sort of see a blurry lume image on the screen. So yeah, not the worst, but it's not great, is it? Well, there you go. Proof that there are still incredibly good value for money Seiko watches out there. So yeah, if the AliExpress sale isn't your thing, hopefully this has given you something to think about, right guys? As always, massive thank you from me to you for tuning in. I do appreciate it.